We are back, everybody, on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS. As the music fades, they're supposed to fade. There we go.
We were having a good time listening to it, Doug.
Anyway, Gazette Radio Hour, Doug and John, and our special guest right now is City Councilman Mr. Dante Acosta. Dante, I'd like to venture into some waters that might be a little sensitive, and if you don't care to answer, that's okay. But I happen to notice on Facebook you were getting a bit of a hard time for thanking the community on the anniversary of the death of your son. And for those folks that don't know that, Dante's oldest son, right?
Yes.
Was killed in Afghanistan. How many years has it been now?
It was 4 years last Thursday.
Okay. Right. And if you don't want to comment specifically on that item, how do you feel in general about getting criticized for kind of being a public figure for things you might say or do, because you're kind of in the public eye?
Well, we'll leave that one alone, perhaps, and let people make their own judgments on that and on my despicable behavior for thanking the community. It's tough when you make the transition from public life where you're out there behind the scenes and supporting your favorite charity and going to events, and you're just kind of that behind the scenes, and being thrust into it by what happened with our son and the publicity surrounding it. As you know, it was a pretty very public thing with the green on blue attack, which fortunately is still fairly rare. It comes with the territory to a certain extent, but I question where we as a society, forget the community, but as a society, where do we draw the line in saying, hey, we've got people out there that are willing to serve, and how do we decide when it's okay to just blowtorch them for saying something that was maybe a little personal? And it's not the first time, by the way. I don't know if you remember, but I said, this last week, buried my aunt, and she was, a big part of my life, and I had a quick little quip, and apparently I got beat up for that. And I'm thinking to myself, our council comment time is for us.
Exactly.
And so I don't think most people really give it two seconds thought. They think it humanizes us as part of the process. But I think we have to think about and be a little bit more mindful of, if we want people to serve that aren't, robots, or aren't in it for just strictly personal gain, right, we've got to be a little bit careful about going after them personally, if you will. Can I handle it? Yeah, I can handle it. Got a thick skin, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But I'm glad you asked, and it's just too bad. If people have something to say to me, I just wish they would, take me aside afterward or before, or and say, hey, you mentioned your aunt passing away. Sorry to hear about that, but do we really need to hear about it? And I go, oh, maybe not. But you also need to hear about, the fact that we supported this favorite charity of ours. Do you need to hear about the fact that we do this, that, or the other? And I think that's really part of the
do you think it's just a situation where people just don't understand what the comment section of the city council meeting's about?
I think that's a big part of it, and one of the things I think people are particularly sensitive to, and I think it makes them a little uncomfortable. Our particular situation, we were going down the road, minding our own business merrily. I was a successful financial advisor, doing pretty well, and love this community and been here a long time. And then, there's a giant detour sign in the middle of our nicely paved road, and we went off onto this, goat path that we had to, meander through, and that's taken us down another path. And it's like everyone's story. We've all got something in our lives that has changed or impacted our lives. Ours perhaps was a little more public and dramatic than some other people's. But
it doesn't make it any better or any worse.
No, it doesn't.
It just makes it is what it is.
But John, it's funny when you say that. It's like if you were on the show right now and you said, well, as a lawyer, as a practicing attorney, and then everybody turn off the radio. As a practicing attorney,
I would turn off the radio.
Yeah, exactly. XYZ. I was in court the other day, and this crazy thing happened. It's part of the conversation.
Exactly.
So I think that we have to understand that people have lives outside of the dais, and it's part of the conversation.
And I can understand the criticism if it's something that you do all the time and you constantly bring up one particular. I mean, your son's circumstances. If that was the central focus of every comment you ever made, maybe. Okay, fine. We'll there might be some criticism there that might stick, but your comment time is your comment time. It's not, you get to say whatever you want to say. It shouldn't be regulated. It's part of the whole process.
Well, thank you, but I guess it's still someone's right to.
Yeah.
And our son, and of course Doug's son, and a lot of other sons and daughters in this community fought for that person to be able to have that right.
Yeah.
But guess what? The pushback from other people like Doug and yourselves, who are maybe pushed back a little bit, is also your right.
Yeah.
To push back.
Exactly.
What irritates me is it seems a bit cowardly to do it behind the face of social media. Like you said, if somebody were come up to you, eye to eye and say, hey, I have a concern about this and that you said. But just to shoot stuff out on the internet, I mean, to me, that's just classless.
And by the way, I'd be more than happy to hear them out and give them my 2 cents and say, gosh, maybe, you might have a point. Thank you for that.
So you'd pay people to talk to you? Wow. Okay. All right. Breaking news here. All right. So let's talk about something a lot more fun than that. Deep well injections.
Whoa. You said fun. I thought you were going to go to the Cowboy Festival coming up, here in May. We're having in Old Town Newhall and Hart Park. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
We can talk about it. That sounds a lot more fun, doesn't it?
It does.
I think we should do the
cowboy hats and 6-shooters. What's more fun than that?
I think the deep well injection in Hart Park. Yeah.
I did not say deep well injection in Hart Park. Let's be very clear here, folks. I'm not advocating deep well injection. The only injection is the peaches into the cobbler.
Nice.
That you have. Now,
well played.
I mean,
transition.
the cobbler, the peach cobbler that you can get at our Cowboy Festival, which will be held at Old Town Newhall in Hart Park, is a piece de resistance. It's you have to have it. Wonderful.
Yeah, that actually.
That sound better?
That was much better than the deep well injection thing. Because that's just.
We thought we had 2 minutes to kill.
It's like a salty subject.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's just.
Hey, Dante, I just thought of something. Tell the listeners what your dad did for a living and what show he was on.
My father, as some people might recall, it was a pretty prolific character actor in the old westerns from the late 40s all the way up to the early 70s. His name was Rodolfo, or Rudy Acosta, as everybody called him. He was in the High Chaparral series for 3 years, and prior to that he was in Bonanzas and Tales of Wells Fargo's, Hondo with John Wayne, and Sons of Katie Elder, and Flaming Star with Elvis Presley, which was just on the other night.
Oh, there you
usually played the bad guy, the Banditos or the Indians and Indian Chief, and it was an interesting life. That's a whole other story. And by the way, he has one of the saddles on our Walk of Western Stars down there in Old Town Newhall.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and adjacent to the Canyon Theater Guild, between the Canyon Theater Guild and the famous Newhall Refinery.
There you go.
Right there in Old Town Newhall.
Wow, you're booking for all kinds of plugs, aren't you?
Well, absolutely. We want to make sure our local merchants here in town are thriving and surviving. And
thank you for that. Amen.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. All right, Councilman, I'm so sorry, but we are out of time.
Oh.
It just goes by so quick.
It does when you're having fun.
Yeah.
So what were we having? I'm just kidding.
It just seemed to drag on a little, didn't it? You're right. We'll work on that one. All right. Thank you, Councilman Acosta.
All right, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Soon.
All right. Dante Acosta, one of my favorite councilmen, one of the top 5. I told you that. He wears his heart on his sleeve.
He does.
I like that. All right. You're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We'll be right back.
You do not need to hold on any longer, folks. Had to do it, John.
I tried to do it. I did it like 3 or 4 times last week.
Anyway,
Should never leave me in charge of the show again. We had a nice soccer conversation.
Oh, we're going to get to that. I heard all about that. That is just wrong.
Sorry, Dad.
Anyway, this is the Gazette Radio Hour, Doug and John on Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM-1220 KHTS, and we have our national correspondent with us.
Correspondent.
Mr. Robert Patrick Lewis. Are you
Well-known
there,
author.
sir?
I'm here. How you guys doing?
When do I
Good.
get my hard copy of your new book? Because I'm all about print.
So we have a couple of big authors right now. Jason Redman, the author of Trident Warrior, and a couple of other authors that I'm close with that are writing little blurbs and reviews to put on the back cover. So as soon as that's done, everything else is formatted. So physical cover should be out pretty soon, but the audio book is flying off the shelf.
I'm waiting for the
that
movie.
one-
Doug will be reading the book when the movie's being shot.
So, okay. Anyway.
So,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Why do
Doug.
we have this guy on? Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Okay, news broke as we were going to press with the Gazette the other night, and you'd already submitted your piece, Robert, and I was able to add it to my rant a little bit about Sergeant Bergdahl.
Oh, yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I don't know how I can put it clean enough to say on the radio.
Do your best.
Just say I don't think too highly of that guy.
Well, I'm still confused as to exactly. Okay, let's go back a little bit. This is a gentleman.
Do we,
for lack of a better
review it
term,
first.
okay. He was stationed on a post in. It was Iran or Iraq, right? Afghanistan. Okay, that's where I was drawing a little bit of a blank. And he either deserted his post or wandered away and was eventually kidnapped. Okay, now
after making rants about how he didn't believe the U.S. belonged in Afghanistan and didn't believe their mission.
Okay, so then he becomes part of a prisoner swap.
Can we back up,
Oh,
John?
back up. Sorry.
When he went missing,
Oh, yeah.
and his fellow soldiers didn't know where he was or what happened to him, they had an all-out search.
Yep.
And they put all their war duties on hold to go look for this guy.
Right.
Okay, and actually there were some casualties and fatality.
Yeah, 5 dead.
Yeah.
There's another picture of the service of one guy that's been, he's essentially paralyzed. He was wounded going to look for this. Again, I'm trying to piece this up for everybody.
Gentleman.
This dirtbag,
Okay.
and so, that's the thing as a soldier. If there's a guy if there is a POW, never leave anybody behind. We truly understand that, and we truly believe that. If one of our guys gets rolled up on a mission, we will do everything to go back and get him. Now, that being said, it's a different story when you go on a rant about how much you hate the United States and then willingly walk off post, unarmed, and get rolled up, and then 5 guys die going looking for you.
Yeah.
That's another story.
Has he made any statements or had said anything in his defense?
No, his dad said a lot of statements saying how much he loved Islam and how much he was in favor of the Taliban. Susan Rice came out last year on Obama's behalf saying that Bergdahl had served with distinction and honor. But no, the dirtbag himself has been pretty quiet in all this.
Okay, interesting, because you would imagine if he was that vocal before, he'd be that vocal after. That's the only. That's the only. You know me. I'm the attorney thing. You look at stuff that doesn't add up,
right?
And that's the only thing in all this that doesn't add up. Somehow along the lines.
That's one thing. Being a POW, every Green Beret has to go through SEER school. So I spent a month as a POW. He spent years, and I can tell you, after just a month, you're a little shell shock coming out of that. So I can understand why he can be shy of talking to anybody for a while. Number one, he got caught with his finger in the cookie jar. Everybody figured out what really happened. So he's persona non grata in most circles, especially in the military. Right
but when you're facing an Article 32 hearing, and that's like that's serious stuff. That's life imprisonment, and that's not life in happy prison. That's life in legit prison. It's not a club.
There are other words for it.
Yeah. I'm being generous. It's hard labor stuff. We're not talking fun prison, I guess.
Robert, let me ask you this. Ask you to speculate. Do you think if the administration knew that he had deserted, would they have made that deal anyway?
Unfortunately, I think because Obama is so disconnected with the military and truly understanding what we think and what we care about, what's important to us, all he saw was his political eye on the prize. I think we did the swap right before the election.
Wait a minute, gentlemen, you don't have to speculate. Right? You don't have to speculate. No, hang on. There's already been a statement. There was his spokesman already came out and said, well, it was worth it. It was well worth it. So, it's already been determined that it was worth it. There's no speculation involved.
To him, he is truly a politician. So to us, as soldiers, all we are just chess pieces.
Right.
And it's not chess pieces in a battle because he doesn't comprehend battle plans. We're just chess pieces in his political moves, and that is why we hate him so much.
Is that why it took so long for this announcement to come out? They could have probably figured this out a month after they got him back, don't you think?
You mean that he was going to be charged with desertion?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I bet that it took a lot of uphill battles for them to get the administration to agree to that. I bet Obama, just to try and save face, they fought tooth and nail. I would even go so far as to imagine there's probably some military official somewhere that did this without the go-ahead from the administration who's probably going to lose their job.
No, that's probably a safe bet. But this is also a serious, let's be real, guys. It's not something he's going to be charged with, 2 days after he gets back. They're going to do some investigating. They're going to talk to the right people.
Take a year, though?
Medal of Honor research takes years and years and years. Silver Star research take years. There's a lot of things where to charge somebody with heavy charges or to give them, certain medals above a stature, even to get my Bronze Stars, I had to have, my team leaders had to put in a certain amount of stuff, and it had to be investigated, things like that. So it's understandable that it would take this long to do all the research and talk to everybody they had.
But I guarantee you there's political pressure on both
100%.
sides, I'm sure.
100%.
Right. Hey, Robert, we're up against the break. You're going to hang on, right?
Yes, sir. I'll be right here.
All right. Perfect. All right, you're listening to Gazette Radio with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We'll be right back.